We are in bed with books. Thank you for joining us this week. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Bethany. If you'd like to find us outside of wherever you're listening from, then you can find us on our website, inbedwithbookspod.com, on Instagram at inbedwithbookspod, and find us on YouTube for video versions of the podcast and bonus episodes.
So let's jump right in.
So what did you do last night? You know what I did last night?
Yeah, what'd you do? I was like, I didn't do anything.
I know.
I
set you up. Oh, you know what? Shit.
What?
I have to put it in speaker mode. Otherwise, it won't pan. And it wasn't.
Okay.
It's fine. We'll keep that. You can edit that stuff. Okay.
This is good.
Jesus Christ. I went to a concert last night because perks of living in a city.
Yes.
Which Milo and I have never lived in a city. I have lived in London, but that was the first city I've ever lived in. You've always kind of lived in a city, haven't you?
No.
Oh, I thought you.
So Surprise is super small.
Okay.
It's about like 45 minutes to an hour outside of Phoenix, but like everything in the valley is 45 minutes to an hour outside of Phoenix.
See, so every time I go traveling with my friends, and we're like, people ask us where we're from, they always say Washington, and I'm like, don't do that, because they'll think you're from DC, and they'll be like, I've been there, and you'll be like, oh really? And then you start talking, and you're like, no, that's not what they're talking about.
Not the same.
The same. So I always say Seattle, even though I don't live in Seattle.
Yeah.
Or they'll say like Olympia, Washington, and like no one knows what that means. Whatever. It's just funny.
Well, but also like Surprise, Arizona. Like people get really hung up on the fact that it's Surprise.
Yeah.
And so I just say Phoenix if I don't want to discuss.
I don't want to have that conversation.
Yes, it is Surprise, Arizona in the Happy Valley right next to Goodyear. Like, they're really trying with it. Thank you. I hadn't noticed. Yep.
Yeah. So, I live in a city, and now like we are like a 7-minute walk from the Paramount Theater.
Nice.
And that's where, so Milo got me tickets to see Claro. And apart from Lana Del Rey, she is probably the only person I listen to religiously, which is big for me. I'm kind of I'm obsessive with my music. I don't have a huge, and I have two people I listen to.
I almost know the word you're looking for.
Same. I know the word I'm looking for, but I don't know it.
Yep. So continuing on.
Yep. And so we went to the concert last night. It was so fun. All day today was just kind of like, you know how when you maybe people somewhere out there experience this where you're like, oh, I did something that was like only me, you know, like Milo was there, and Milo likes Claro too, and we've like covered a lot of her songs like at shows and stuff. But it was like, I was like, but this is like my thing that's special to me.
Yeah, it was for you,
just for me, and so then you've there's like this part of your identity that just feels like more like fed. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like a weird
I know what you
feeling.
mean.
So that's very new to me because it's rare, I should say, because it's like not something I always take the time to like, or it feels selfish in like a good way.
Yeah.
And like allowing yourself to be a little selfish about something. Like even just like buying a book in hardback, even though I've read the paperback twice. Like, what's the point of having the hardback? But I want it. Like,
exactly.
And like allowing yourself to want it. Like, so
we're allowed to have indulgences.
Indulgences. Yeah. So I'm sporting her shirt today.
Nice.
And
it's a very nice color,
it was
honestly.
Green when I bought it, but it was green. Which made sense because then when her show, because I bought it before it started, and then the show started, and her whole backdrop was like green, and it was actually super cool. I really liked her, like the stage was really cool. Oh, it was so fun. I
I'm glad.
It was really fun. So that's what I'm kind of riding on that high.
That's nice. That's nice. Because I haven't felt like this exhausted at 9 p.m. in a very long time.
Yeah.
So you got to bring the energy today.
Yes.
Yes.
Have the energy.
Okay, cool. I'm excited to talk about this, which is why I'm like, I'm marginally more awake than I think my insides feel.
Yeah.
So
you're like, my soul is awake for this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Because we're talking about what?
We are going to be talking about characters today.
Characters.
And that seems really vague. We've got a couple of questions, or I guess topics and themes that we're going to be talking about. We just wrote our own private lists to answer this, and so we're going to surprise each other on camera with our answers.
Yeah.
So I think we should start with the easiest and like the most obvious part, which is characters we love to hate.
Yeah. So we didn't want to be like favorite characters.
Yeah.
We, favorite main characters or favorite villains or whatever, because we've kind of done that before.
Yeah.
And I kind of like this like different like approach, like side way of doing it, of just like, we're going to talk about characters that really annoy us.
Yep.
But we love them somehow. And we're going to talk about
sometimes a really well written annoying character is enjoyable.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about characters that piss us off, and we love to hate them. So we're going to start there.
Yeah. I will be happy to start.
Yes.
My first one, Alistair from the Blood and Ash series.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Fuck Alistair.
From the
truest... I
feel
like you've said that before.
I 100% have. From the truest part of my heart, the most innocent and truest part of my heart also says, fuck Alistair.
Fuck Alistair.
He was manipulative. He lied. He was just like fishing for power in the most sleazeball kind of way possible.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me like, what's his name? Littlefinger energy.
Yeah.
Where like he's always right next to the person in power. You don't trust that guy.
Yeah.
You don't trust that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it still like buzzes around in my head to this day, because this was like what, the third episode of the podcast ever, where I think it was book 2.
Yeah.
We never like fleshed it out in the episode, but he had like a really gruesome death. And it was,
I think it was in book 3.
Book 3.
Yeah.
Where the wolves just teared him apart.
Yeah.
So that was satisfying.
It was. It really was. I don't think I've ever been that satisfied with a death.
Yeah.
In a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
What about you?
I'm going to say Cormac, the first half of Crescent City 2.
Yes.
Like he was just such a alpha asshole.
God, yeah.
And I remember I sent you that. I actually shared it to our Instagram stories, but I also sent you the page where it was like this person had broken down like terms and definitions for like dark romance, and one of them was it said like asshole, alpha hole, or what did it say? It had like 3 different alpha, alpha hole, and then asshole, and they were 3 very different things, which I appreciated, because there's like alpha hole, right, and like the Bryce sense of the word, where like we've kind of talked about it, where it's like actually they're just like looking out, like it's kind of the alpha you had described, like looking out for people. And then there's alpha, right, of like whatever. And then there's asshole. There's just asshole.
There's just like asshole, yeah.
And that was Cormac for like the first half of the book.
Well, I also like sent you the fun version of that, which was like the difference between himbos, hunks, and what was the third one? Oh shoot, I'm gonna just look it up.
Jimbos.
No. No, it was not Jimbos. That was a lot to that was a lot.
What is a Jimbo?
Okay, just a quick brief pause while I look it up. We can cut this.
Yeah.
I sent it to your personal one, right?
I don't know. It depends on the day.
That's fair. I found it.
Which account?
Okay. Yes, so we've got himbo, hunk, jock, and decent man.
Yeah.
Because the himbo is a combination of all three, but they have to be kind of dumb.
Yeah.
A decent
like
man is just... Yeah, exactly. A decent man is just kind and stupid. And I kind of love that. But based on that graphic, Cormac was very much like a jock at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Stupid and beefy.
Yeah. And demanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Anyone else?
Okay.
We want to add to that list?
Yeah, I've got two more, actually. Okay. Thank you. My next one is Locke.
Yeah.
And I think the reason I love to hate him... Yes, from the Cruel Prince. The reason I love to hate him so much is because you saw it coming a mile away.
Yeah. And
you just watched her fall into this trap.
You just watched it happen. Like before, like you... And it wasn't... A lot of times it's like you're like telling the main character, like, what are you doing?
Yep.
But I wasn't frustrated with Jude. I was frustrated with him. Like, what are you doing?
Because
why are you doing it? And like,
you're not mad at Jude in that situation because like every girl has been that girl at some point. Like that's how you learn. That's like that was her first hard lesson, and like some guys are terrible. Yeah. And so it would be like unfair to her as she's a kid. Yeah. In the first book. I don't know like what happens in the next two. We haven't read the next ones yet, but like she's a kid. What a fucking asshole. Yeah. Yeah. I hope he has a fiery demise.
Yeah. Maybe he will fall off the cliff.
We can only hope. We can only hope.
We've said we want him off the cliff.
Yes. Okay, what about you? Do you have any more? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Midas.
Yes.
A new one.
Yes.
So this one's fresh. Fresh meat.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Just everything. Like I remember like reading like Instagram reviews on this book, and people were like, every time Midas is in a scene, I just wanted to throw up. I just like hate him so much. And I'm like, come on. Like before I read it, I was like, I just want to like you know how some people like hate just to hate. Yeah. Are we hating just to hate? You know, can't be that bad. Yeah. Yeah, he's bad and he's gross, and every part of his like shittiness is like written all through like what's her name? Auron's like thoughts. Yes. Of just like the inner dialogue, the script almost that she's like telling herself is all from like Midas's like this Stockholm, this like manipulative gaslighting son of a bitch. Like
I think what's so frustrating about that too, in like the best way, like because it's well written. Yes. Is that like she's saying these terrible things at the same time that she's saying how much she wishes that he was there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she's also acknowledging sometimes when he's being bad, but she can't connect that like the Midas that she thinks she's in love with and the Midas who is doing the bad things are the same Midas. Yeah. The amount of manipulation you have to do to somebody to get them to that point. Mm-hmm. Ooh, yeah. Yeah,
they have to be pretty desperate and which is another level, right? Is to take someone who is vulnerable and desperate
Yes.
and use them to your control.
Yeah, use that to your advantage and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Your turn.
My third, you actually have not read yet, so I will not go into
Okay.
too much detail. So it's from the Hollows. His name is Nick. I can't actually say it. It's Sparagamos, I believe. He is a grade A asshole. He is selfish in the worst possible way. I hate him. I hate him so much. So that I don't give anything away, that is where I will leave it. So he is a human in the Hollows that Rachel dates for a time.
Mm-hmm.
And in the books, I think I've kind of talked about this before, and it's not like it's a spoiler or anything, but they've got different fantasy races. So you've got like witches, you've got elves, you've got vampires, werewolves, pixies. I mean, everything from the biggest to the smallest that you can think of. But they've also got humans, and so there's obviously like tensions between everybody. And so she dates Nick, this human, for a little while, and you think like, oh, he's nice. He's not. He is just as fucked up as the rest of them, except he hit it so well that even so, like with like Locke, you saw it coming. You could see him playing his games. Nick just seemed like a nice guy. Like I felt so betrayed when he like did what he did.
Yeah.
It was rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Yeah. When you can like get
part.
invested in a character and then brokenhearted, that's really good.
Like Tamlin.
That's my next choice.
Okay. I had a feeling. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's just pretty lukewarm in the first book. And then the second book really drives it home of just like, oh, like, because they both went through this like terrible thing under the mountain. Yeah. And A Court of Thorns and Roses, for anyone who doesn't know who Tamlin is. And they both kind of undergo trauma, and then he like goes a different direction and becomes very possessive and locks her in the house and stuff like that. And so he just becomes really territorial and annoying and not sexy anymore.
Not at all.
Yeah.
What I did like about that is that like he didn't lose his characterization. It felt like a very natural progression, the way that it's written out. Yeah.
Yes, because his characterization was very much he always had that need to protect.
Yeah.
That was always part of his like shtick. And then and also being emotionally distant was always there. He was never sharing much about his past, you know, like you normally do with like a romance. Like when you're like getting to know people, you learn everything they've done and gone through, and like you just didn't see any of that in Tamlin. You heard it from Lucian like sporadically, but and then so that kind of could have been it really felt uneasy in the first book. Felt like a red flag because you're just like, well, we don't really know him. Like
in the first book, it's very YA in that like because he's the only like honest man in the situation.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's the one she's gonna end up with. It's just kind of like by default.
Yeah.
And so I do kind of like that she played with our expectations that way.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would say Tamlin, number one, love to hate. I mean, I also will say there's a lot going on the internet, right, around like Tamlin and stuff. And a lot of people do shit on him. And I think we have talked about this even in like our book club meeting and stuff about it, which is like, yes, he's such an easy like person to hate, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're kind of like, it's like almost like I kind of appreciate it.
Yeah.
The fact that like
he is the way that he is.
Like, yeah. It's hard to explain. Like as a character and as like a reader reading a character, right? Like I can kind of appreciate how that like went down. Like you said, it was just like very organic. It felt like the characterization was very much there. And so.
Well, also like if everybody was just like Rhysand or kind of like this flat character, it wouldn't be interesting to read.
Yeah.
But we have like two, and I'm sure it'll like I've only read the first 2 books, so I can't say for sure on the other ones. But at least at the very beginning, now we've got these 2 very fully fleshed out people with these very fully fleshed out backgrounds that are kind of intertwined a little bit. And that makes for a more interesting story.
Yeah.
Like if it was only the one and then everybody else is kind of flat, then what are you even reading for at that point?
Yeah, like I feel like too a lot of the books I've read in the past have been very like singular in their like in the almost the depth plethora of characters. Like ACOTAR was really, it really felt like the first book series where I was like, oh, there's like tons of characters. I mean, obviously like Lord of the Rings, like everyone has their person they want to be. That would probably be the only other one I could think of, but it was just like, oh, like you have Tamlin and Lucian. Like that book felt like a lot of YA, right? Like you're saying, because it's like very, very much kind of like guilds. Like it was just very, you have like 3 people.
Yep.
You see. And I loved how you put it too at the book club. You were like, the first book felt very much like the old kind of romance.
Yeah.
Which was very like Stockholm syndrome.
Like all they do is like kiss and she's seeing stars. And like that's not real. That's not real.
Exactly. And then shit hits the fan. And then the next book is like, okay, here's the real thing. Here's what romance is now, which is you have really complicated characters and you have more characters and you have friends and you have like a gang and like the state, you know, you're part of what's going on. You're not an accessory of what's going on. Farah is. And so I like how the second book you have like tons of different characters. Since we're on the subject of characters, right? Like I do think like having like these books with like tons of different people you can kind of identify yourself in is really exciting.
And it creates, because a book will only go as far as the characters can take it.
Yeah.
And so if you've only got like a couple of characters, that really limits where the things can go and that limits like dynamics and everything.
Yeah.
So like looking at for example, like the Darker Shades, when we read that, we've got these 3 different Londons. And so you've got one of like from each London has the, I can't remember what they're called now, but the magic person with the eye. Antari, thank you. Nice.
Wow, I know. I'm really good at this.
I'm
surprised.
I think I think you just
that I remembered something.
And so you're already starting out with these 3 different worlds that you can explore. 3 kind of like 3 main characters, and then from there it goes out because each of them knows somebody who knows somebody. And so even though we didn't have like as many main characters as we do in like ACOTAR or in Crescent City, we still had enough characters that were active in the story.
Yeah.
That made it interesting enough.
Yeah. You need foils, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What should we move on to next? Maybe
I
groups?
picked the first one, so you pick the second one.
Let's do groups.
Groups? Okay.
Or should we let's do Hate to Love. I want to do Hate to Love.
Okay.
This one's interesting. So Hate to Love are just ones
characters
we hate to love.
Yeah, characters that we No, we shouldn't, but we love them a lot. I
Or
only have one for this.
they're like, I have kind of a nuance to this, which is
Okay.
for one of them. I put Bryce
Okay,
because
so maybe you should mention the nuance first.
yeah. So I know I wanted the surprise. So I don't think I would get along with her in real life,
Okay.
but I love her. But I don't think I would like her as a person. Like, I think she'd
Yeah.
get really annoying. She wouldn't be
Yeah.
a good friend.
Agreed.
I don't want to say she wouldn't be a good friend, but I wouldn't enjoy her as a friend. And
Yeah.
so I love her, but I know that she's never gonna be everything, you know?
Yeah, I think she's just like she's too eager to keep secrets because I know like she's even getting annoyed with Danica, which is fair. She's finding out a lot of things that Danica hid, but then she's also like doing it to her friends and to Hunt at the same time
Yeah.
that she's getting mad about Danica doing it. I'm like, you know, if you died and they found out about all these secrets, I'm sure you
Yeah.
could imagine how they'd feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and like I guess too, she has a good heart and all that. But the part of her personality is very much like sassy and like says uses that sass like to her advantage and stuff. And I think that's kind of intimidating to me. And I wouldn't want her to use it on me. Like I don't she just
You
seems like a
believe
red
yourself
flag to me.
susceptible? You believe yourself susceptible? Is that
Well,
it?
I just believe she's one of those people like, you know how you're like when you meet someone and they start like bad talking someone and you're like noted, like
Yeah.
you're going to do that about me.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel like with Bryce. I don't know if I can trust her.
That's fair. That's fair.
So I guess the nuance is if we were to ever be friends, it would not go well.
Okay. Okay.
But I like reading her. So
Yeah, she's a
I hate that
gas.
I love that. I don't know. It's kind of a weird.
That's
weird
fair.
nuance.
That's fair. So mine for this one, hold on, where is it? Mine for this one is actually Alucard.
Oh, okay.
Yes, from Darker Shades of
That's
Magic.
a good one.
And the only reason I hate it is because I wanted so much more for him.
Yeah.
You know? Part of me is a little annoyed as well about the whole like he's basically just the rich kid who's playing poor half the time.
Yeah.
Not a fan of that character.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like in media how that character will sometimes like they'll be presented as this like, oh, it's this huge betrayal because they've been rich actually all along. But then they get this sad backstory and you're like, oh, but it's okay because trauma. No, I don't think either. Like they don't exactly negate each other at all.
Yeah.
Like you can feel bad for this person for coming from a bad situation, but also
You can recognize
that like they
privilege
fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, that's why he's my hate to love character.
Interesting. That's a good one.
I can't wait to see him in the new books.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My next one is Zoya.
Okay.
Because we all know I don't love her.
Yes, yes.
But I sympathize with her a bit. And so I hate that I love that. I want to hate her. She's like one of those characters, maybe this is not a popular opinion. But I like she reminds me of people in my life in the past who, or maybe she's an example of, she reminds me of a version of people in the past who have like, who are like snarky in like a deprecating way to other people. I
Mhm.
don't like people who are mean
Yeah.
because they're you know,
No, I don't know what word you're looking for. Because they're you?
no, because they're
I'm sorry.
insecure. They're
Okay,
insecure.
okay, okay, yeah.
Um, and they take it out on other people. Because I, for so long, as if my insecurity created me to be self-deprecating, not deprecating to others. And so when
Yeah.
people put that on other people, it really bothers me. And she just reminds me of that. And so then when we have to read about like all of her problems and like I sympathize and empathize with that, I
Yeah.
like hate to love that because I want to
I
hate
think
her.
that's fair. That's fair. I think the thing is though, like her what people read is like her meanness is not rooted in her insecurity because she's very and I'm trying to just like I guess theorize on why maybe you might not be hating her as much as you think you should
Mm-hmm.
because like when she's mean to people it's because she knows that she has like political power. She knows her place in the kingdom
Mm-hmm.
and it's like right next to the king. She's never really mean to people because of at least in King of Scars. I can't speak for the other series. She's never really mean to people because she's insecure in her abilities. In fact, her perception of her abilities seems to be limited more than the abilities themselves. She's like, "Oh, I can only do these things and I can do them very well." Whereas like later when she's with what's his name? The saint?
Nikolai, no. Um, yep, Jurin.
Durin, yes. He's like, "You're actually thinking so much smaller."
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the first time I think where she feels insecure because she doesn't realize how powerful she actually is and she realizes that she was like thinking of herself as smaller,
Mm-hmm.
which is ironic because she had a very high opinion of herself.
Yeah, that could have been like a mask too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we see in her head and like I think I wouldn't say it's a mask that's like hiding intense insecurity because she's not vindictive when she's mean to people. She's mean to people when they're stupid and when they're like not doing what they need to be doing.
Yeah, which to me reeks of like a control issue. Like, because I agree, I think it's more rooted in like she's just not, she has a hard time accepting the way things are. She doesn't, she wants things to be better. She wants people to be smarter. She wants people to like know
I
and
don't I
it's,
don't think she wants those things though. Or I don't think she thinks those things. I think she like her problem is actually that she's very very stuck in her own thinking.
yeah,
And that's like when she was with Jur and that was part of her issue. She was very static.
yeah.
So like the I can't remember what his name was, but the guy who was in love with her, who was like also kind of funding their lab and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think she ever saw their relationship as anything more than like because he's one of the people that she's mean to. So that's why I'm bringing like their
Yeah.
relationship up. She was continually mean to him because he was continually pursuing her. So that was this kind of like static, unmoving thing. If he had changed his tactics at any point, or if he had changed his attitude toward her, that would have changed things.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't mean to get him to stop. She was mean to like put down a boundary, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
I think I just have a hard time with like people who are mean
No, that's fair. That's fair.
because I'm such a sensitive person. And so when someone's mean, I'm like, I don't like you. But then we like hear her inner thoughts and I'm like, okay, but I kind of understand.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. And One final thing, because I do agree, like before we get her point of view, she's pretty rough,
Yeah.
a little steel hearted. But she's also like within a kingdom. I think I have to remind myself that a few times. Because if everybody around Nikolai was super nice, that'd be like a pretty weak kingdom.
Yeah.
You have to have the
Well, she's
assholes
the
around you.
general.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So our next topic, should we do book BFFs?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have too many on my list and I can't decide.
I've got 3 main ones.
Okay.
So
start.
I can do my first one.
Yeah.
And then you can see. So my first one is Zoya. Can't imagine why I was defending her so hard.
I know. You and Zoya would get along really well, I think.
Yeah. And I think it is I think it does come down to the fact that we could both just be kind of assholes with each other while also recognizing that like it's not any kind of indication of who we are as people, you know?
Yeah.
I think
Well, I liked what you said, that it was like a boundary.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of her stuff is about the bound, especially like after the Darkling and all of the shit that we found out happened in the original series. It comes down, I think, more to like trust issues for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that being said, that means that everybody who's close to her, like they're fierce friends.
Right.
Like they're like a found family kind of situation.
So you would be a fierce friend of Zoya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to think I was.
Yeah.
Okay, what about
Earn
you?
that trust.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Serafina.
Okay.
Because I think I like her. I don't know. She just seems to kind of go with the flow, but also have like an informed, I don't want to say past, but like she informed past. Like she's self-aware. She likes to her character alludes to the fact that she like grows and things, and so I really like that.
I think one thing that I like about Sarah is that like oh shoot, what was I gonna say? Hold on. She has this vibe of like I think almost like the age that you and I are at, where like we've kind of passed that like that prime of like your 20s.
Yeah.
You pass 30, like you pass that big age gap, or not gap, but like that big milestone.
It feels very new adult.
Yeah, like she feels kind of like when I think about Sarah, I think about her wandering through the streets when she's like, well, there's the brothel and there's the pier and there are the people that are always fucking on the pier.
Yeah.
Takes like another drink, keeps walking. She's like, whatever. Like I vibe with that. I feel
like that would be fun to like walk the streets with her.
Yeah.
And then we both find a Nyctos to like pin us to the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, just follow her.
Yeah.
We'll find something.
Yeah.
Someone.
Yeah.
Okay. You go.
My second is Amryn.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is somebody I would like to.
You're just gonna be surrounded by fierce bitches.
Yeah, do I think I could? I'd be terrified all the time, but also I would love to have Amryn as a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She seemed like she would be a good resource. Not in like a weird way, but like a good person.
Like she's somebody I would take to pub quiz.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my metric, I think.
She's smart.
Yeah.
things.
We together, our group, this group of BFFs that I'm creating,
Yeah.
would dominate pub quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, who's your next one?
I'm torn between two.
Okay.
So
I will ascribe a number and I will say a number. And if it feels right, go with
Okay.
that one. If it doesn't, go with the other one.
Do you want me to ascribe a number or?
Yes. Don't tell me whose number. So is it just 1 and 2?
Sure.
Okay. Don't tell me who's got the
Okay.
numbers though. I'm just gonna 2.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
somehow that's relieving.
It feels right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Feyre.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Number 1 was Jude. But I think
okay, no, Feyre.
Feyre, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I like her. Because there's in YA, which is what we read, you have you have those characters that just like things just happen to them all the time. Like, and they're just like this thing that like gets carried around through the story,
just like the wind's kind of taken them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like Poppy is a good example of that.
Yeah.
But the reason why I choose Feyre instead of Poppy is because Feyre is I don't know. Why do I like Feyre so much?
She took a more active role in what was happening to her.
Yeah.
Because she got thrown into it because of killing the wolf. But then they send her back and she's like, oh, okay. And she spends a few weeks there and then she's like, actually, fuck this. Like, no, I don't want this anymore. Well, and she goes.
Yeah.
And she changes her life. Yeah.
There's really measurable ways in which she grows.
Yeah.
And that's something that's important to me. It's something that I work really hard to do. Is like, I don't want to be stuck and be like the same person. And so in like a book Best Friends, like if I'm going to be reading about this, like I want to feel like we're going somewhere. We're not just going to be stagnant.
Yeah.
Poppy, I don't want to shit on Poppy too much, but like I feel like she just kind of reaches another level of being. She's just in a different place.
Yeah.
Being as ignorant, you know.
That's one of like, it feels like we haven't learned that much more. Like the big, and this is like not negative at all. I think this is just kind of part of how Poppy is. Because she doesn't ask the right questions all the time, even though she's constantly asking questions. So the big like surprise at the end of book 1, spoiler in case you got this far, is that everything we know about the world that she's grown up in is wrong.
Yeah.
Like actually kind of 180 wrong. And that was huge. And you'd think she would have asked so many more questions. And she did kind of ask like really minor specific ones, but we still don't know a lot about her actually.
Yeah.
Which is really frustrating because you think of all the things she would be more curious about that. Yeah.
The book seems to frame her as not being as she's not being as concerned with how she can better deal or approach or be, and more concerned with what she is.
Yeah.
Which I think is a bit more of my like disconnection. And the thing is,
we don't fully even know the answer to that question.
Yeah. It's always changing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That being said, that's why I'm actually really excited for the next one.
Yeah.
Because part of the reason has been because Castile's been there coddling her the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I love him because he's protective in like the not jockey, beefy kind of way.
Yeah.
He's protective in this kind of very honest way, like opposed to like Tamlin.
Yeah.
But what it's also meant is that anytime they try to ask questions, it turns into a sex scene, which I'm not entirely complaining about because they're very excellent sex scenes. Yeah. I also forget what she was asking afterwards.
Yeah.
But I am curious now, going into this fourth book, since Castiel's not there,
Yeah.
how much more active of a role she's going to play in her own life.
Yeah.
So.
But so for Feyre though, I think
sorry.
No, it's fine. Well, I feel like it happens every time where whenever From Blood and Ash comes up, it just becomes like its thing. Because
I don't know why that is
ongoing. Because it's ongoing.
Yes.
And there's so many questions we have. That's why.
Yep. Yeah.
We're always like the next book.
There's kind of like this cloud above us, both just like waiting to strike us with ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this, it's like the never ending story.
I'm not gonna lie.
Every book the story changes.
Yes.
The game
sometimes
changes, yeah.
I am, when I'm up late at night, I will have like ideas or like new questions come up about like Blood and Ash or Crescent City or Akatar or something. And like I have to resist the urge to message you because it is so depressing if I were to send you a like, hey, what if Castile actually blah blah blah, or what if Hunt's father is actually so and so at like 3:45 in the morning?
Why is that embarrassing?
It's not embarrassing, it's depressing.
Why is it depressing?
Because it's 3:45 in the morning. I should not be thinking about those things at 3:45 in the morning.
But there's been a few times you've done that though. And
I know, and it felt depressing.
I don't think any less of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I in fact I feel energized that you choose me. I feel honored that you choose me.
Well, just know that if you worry that I'm choosing someone else, I'm not. I'm choosing no one. I'm choosing to, on that note, I should probably go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Feyre.
Yes.
The way in which Feyre does this that I like is that you, and in this second reading that I've had, I was able to kind of step back from having to like be introduced to so many new characters and things and worlds, because I already know and I've read it now, that I got to kind of really pay attention to like her and her like dialogue and like who she is and the decisions that she makes. And because I would say kind of the attitude about her on Bookstagram is very much, she's kind of white bread, just very kind of like, everyone really loved Nesta as a protagonist because she was much more interesting and things like that, which I agree she is in a lot of ways. But I really enjoy Feyre because I feel like I'm the most like her. I am kind of white bread bland sometimes in terms of like, I'm not, well, but I know.
But I also don't think Feyre is.
Right. But yeah. I guess my point is like, I'm not mean.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not Nesta, right? Like I'm not.
Yeah.
As much as I would love to think I was Nesta, I like how Feyre learns in book 2 at the beginning, where she's breaking it down and she sees the people around her, like Rhys and Moore, and compares, not directly, but in kind of a really like meta way, her experience with people in the Spring Court and how different it is and how she feels different and how that just like gradually like happens, and so falling into Rhys doesn't feel like it feels different than falling in love with what was the guy, Tarkin. She was like, I feel like I could fall in love with you, and she's realizing this about herself, and I really appreciate that, where she's like, she's seeing this as like an opportunity of recognizing that like something's changed.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So yeah,
I think one thing that was like surprising about her going into these books, having seen basically all the spoilers, right, is that she is so often depicted in these very beautified moments. Like you get when she's dressed up for the wedding and she's chucking the shoe at Rhys, or when she's dressed in that beautiful dress for Starfall and they smile at each other for the first time. But she has like a lot of very stronger moments that I think reflect her more. Like the moment when she figures out how to winnow, when
Mm-hmm.
they get attacked and he like falls, and she's got to like winnow from tree to tree because the
Mm-hmm.
forest suddenly is getting dangerous. And so she's figuring out suddenly how to use all of these powers that she's been like imbued with.
Yeah.
And like that was an awesome moment because she's like, so I blinked and suddenly I could see in the dark.
Yeah.
And I blinked again and I was the next tree.
Yeah.
Like those are, I think, more Feyre moments
Yeah.
than the sweet moments with Reese.
Yeah, because they're also defined by that huntress that we see at the
Yes.
beginning. Because we
Yes.
know
Yeah.
that she's capable of it because she's learned on her own how to like hunt
Yes.
out of necessity. And so now she's
Yeah.
doing this in a position of necessity and she's pushed to that
Yeah.
limit.
Agreed. Very like classic YA character where like parents are gone, so she's half raised herself and taking care of the family. Like very literal in that sense.
Yeah, like mom died and parents died on a ship.
Dad's out of the picture. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. So my third is Rachel Morgan from The Hollows.
Yeah.
And the reason is, well, one, she's very loyal. That's one of the ways that I think like her and Bryce, because we've kind of talked about that, the way Bryce and Rachel have a lot in common. But also she's a hot mess.
She'll keep it interesting.
Yeah, but like I know that I could go to Rachel if I was like, look, I got real fucked up last night. I don't know what his name is, but I need your help to like get out of this current situation. Whereas if I were to go to like Zoya with that, she'd be like, well, why'd you get that drunk?
Yeah, she'd just be kind of judgmental about it.
Yeah. She'd be like, well, you got yourself into this situation.
Oh,
you can probably get yourself out.
So Rachel's more of like a, she's a good person to have in a crisis.
Yes, yeah.
That's good.
Because you wouldn't feel embarrassed going to Rachel. And like with Amryn, if I were to tell Amryn, she'd just kill them. Like she does not have a chill response to these things.
Yeah. You need a little bit of everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like a nice, well-rounded little group. That's
Yeah. Okay, my third is Kieran.
Nice. Okay.
I think we could have lots of long conversations together.
Yeah. Just conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of group him too with Rune a bit.
Nice, yeah.
That they kind of have the same energy to me. Same brother energy.
Kind of like steady.
Yes, yeah. Steady.
Reliable.
Like this Capricorn that I just need in my life, right?
Yeah.
Loyalty. That's what I like. Because if you know me at all, I very much appreciate like exclusivity.
Yeah.
And that, which isn't to say you can't have other friends. That's not what I mean, but I mean like feeling very, very special to someone. And I feel like Kieran and Rune could give me that.
Yeah. Are they like your combined last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Coon or Rearin?
I'm gonna say no on both of those.
Are you gonna combine their names?
I don't think
Rearin and Coon. You have to choose one.
Rearin.
Yeah, I like
I feel like also if we were to scour all of YA, there's definitely a Rearin somewhere out there.
There is. Oh God, yeah. Out of all the names they have to make up.
Yes. I like. Part of me is even like, have I read a Rearin before? I feel like I probably have. I've read a lot of YA.
Yeah. Like a chaunt, like a Mondler and Channica.
Yes, Brangelina, Bennifer.
Okay.
Okay. I'm
All
gonna
right.
say let's go with groups. Then I think
Yes.
that's our last category. Groups who would
Yes.
want to join.
I like this. I like this because I feel like groups, you kind of get, there's like a fun like dynamic.
Yes.
What's your favorite group you would want to be part of?
Bryce's harem.
Oh,
I think it could
yeah.
use
That's
a
a
little
good
bit more
one.
vagina. A little bit more
Yeah.
vagina.
You need like, add Amryn
Yeah.
or Fury. Just like
Actually get Fury more involved.
get her like in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be
So
fun.
my actual, other than the fact that it's almost all very attractive men, my main reason is actually because they're more of a group than a lot of the others.
Right.
Some of them are like when you look at a Serpent and Dove, it's kind of this
hodgepodge
of friends that gather around this one very powerful person who's actually the chosen one.
Right.
Whereas Bryce is kind of the chosen one, but also so is Rune, but also so is Hunt.
Yeah.
Yes, but then you've also got
they're all
Ethan, who is kind of actually an alpha.
Yeah,
who
they're
just
all
needs to be
big
figured out.
players.
Yes,
In
yes.
their
in their own right.
plans.
Yeah. And I like
and they're
that.
all interconnected and have history of their own. I love the fact that Ethan and Bryce kind of have their history. And
but also now Ethan and Declan and Tristan have a good thing going.
Yeah, they have a good thing going. Even the fact that Therian and Hypaxia, even though Hypaxia is not really in the group yet, or
yes,
she's kind of an extension, kind of have there's these and Therian and Hunt kind of have this.
Yes, exactly.
Thing
it's
going,
not just they're all just kind of gathered around because they all love Lou individually. It's
yeah.
No, we all love Bryce, but also we all love each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, what about you?
I'm going to do one from a book you haven't read yet, but you will.
Okay. Okay.
From Court of Silver Flames.
Got you.
Such a good friend book. So what I love is and we've kind of talked about it before, which is Feyre finds the gang, right? The group, which is Rhys, Cassian, Azriel, Mor, Amryn, and there's someone else in there. But maybe not. And then when Nesta kind of, comes into the group, she doesn't want, she doesn't feel comfortable. She's, whatever, you'll get there. But it's it's nice that she gets her own set of friends. And so she finds Emery and Gwen, and they just have this incredible group, and Cassian and Azrael are adjacent, right? So it's this kind of offset of the main court, and it's just Nesta's little gang, and I just love it because you have the Bat Boys,
Yeah.
You have Cassian and Azrael, who are just night and day, just so different.
Yeah.
And that have such a long history as well. And then you have Nesta, who's just got here into this world. And then you have Gwen, who's from the world and has her whole history. And she's kind of this, she's this really great character who really, she's the one that I would probably describe as the most like me.
Okay. I thought you were about to put your thumb, your fist down on Gwen versus Elaine when it came to Azriel shipping.
Yeah.
And I was wow, we're going to be staking a claim on that this early?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have my own theories on that.
Okay. I
don't
anything.
I'm not gonna I mean, because it is kind of up in the air. We don't really know. And then Emery is she's an Illyrian. So she's the first female Illyrian that we meet. And so she has this really unique experience of growing up in that whole situation. And so it's just like really fun. But yeah, Gwen I would say is the most like me, because she's like the one that's like really hopeful that, and like wants everyone to like get along and stuff. You know, she's like that one. She's the glue. Yeah. Okay. That's my my group.
I
one
like
of my
that.
groups. Yeah.
Yeah. One of.
Yeah. I don't need to do another one, I think. We talk a lot about like Lou's group. Mm-hmm. And I kind of to counter what you were talking about, where it's like Bryce's harem kind of being like, they're all kind of connected and they all have history and kind of know each other. And they're there because they all are kind of interconnected in that way. Lou and their gang, I kind of, there's something kind of nice too about a gang that has to make it. Yeah. And they just kind of found each other.
They're kind of flying by the seat of their pants.
Flying by the seat of their pants, yeah. And like, I remember after the first like book, I can't remember which episode it was, and I was just like, what is Bo doing there? Like, what? Yeah. You know, like, what? Yes. What is he there for? What is he about? And like Madame Labelle, like, I just liked kind of the dynamic of everyone. It was very comical of having the dynamic of everyone having to live in this forest together. Yes. And like be around each other and like hate it because they're forced to. And then like Lou and Reed, like, you know, can't like leave anyone's sight, and just like, anyways, it's just funny. Okay. Sorry, I was looking something up. Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think I almost chose that group as another one for me because of that. I think the same kind of like, the reason I chose Rachel Morgan is because like you can just kind of be yourself. Mm-hmm. They can be kind of all parts of yourself, mm-hmm. and she'll just kind of take you as you are. Mm-hmm. So then I actually chose Rachel Morgan and her little group, her little PI business that she makes with Ivy and with Jenks in mm-hmm. the Hollows, for the very same reason, where it's like they are all very fiercely loyal. They mm-hmm. all kind of stumble in this together. They run a kick-ass business together, and they kick ass together. Yeah. And that would be fun. Yeah. That would be fun. And the thing is, they don't always have to kick ass. Like sometimes, because it's urban fantasy, like sometimes there's days where it's like, we just have to sit in the kitchen. I'm going to sit here on my laptop and I'm going to do as much research as I possibly can. And you stand over there in the kitchen and you brew all of the spells that you need to brew right now so that we are properly prepared for later. Yeah. It's like, and I think I really like those scenes because when there are these little like slice of life scenes mm-hmm. that it's like, oh, I'd like to sit in that room while they're like just chit-chatting and existing together. Mm-hmm. But also when you get like before a battle scene, they're like, or before kind of a mission, like with Mist and Fury, they're going to the day court, or no, summer, they're going to the summer court. And their plan that they know they have to come up with is how to find this and steal this book, right? Mm-hmm. And they kind of just go in there blank. Yeah. And they have come up with a plan. Yeah. And then it immediately blows up because they did not like fully plan these things out. Yeah. And that was frustrating because I was like, you should have sat down, you should have done the research. You should have gotten everyone together in the room. Yeah, like this should have been more thought out. And so yeah. I like that they actually do those things. Yeah. I'm a planner, what can I say? Yeah, yeah. You like I like it too though, because it allows me to dream. It gives a little bit of structure. I love like sitting down and then like hashing out the details. So some really disappointing. It's really disappointing when you're with a bunch of people who love to dream and then they don't want to go over the details. And you're like, okay, yeah. So it's not a dream. It's not going to happen. Like, yeah. I'm like, we have to see this through. And I would always be kind of the person that was just like, come on. And then everyone would get annoyed with me. Seeing the dream become a plan. Yeah. Like seeing the dream become an actual plan. Like when dreams just stay dreams, they're fantasies. Well, but I also love details.
Yeah.
Like I like to like see it and feel it and imagine
Make it real.
And, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Yeah.
Any honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions.
Because I know we tried to kind of stay away from like
Romantic
sexy
stuff. Yeah.
and romantic stuff. Yeah, because we talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
Which is fair. Like this was to kind of this episode's purpose was to branch out of that a little bit.
Yeah. I would say there is kind of a quasi category of characters that surprised us.
Yes.
And I have one notable mention, which is actually Nyktos.
Okay. Okay.
Because I was kind of and we've touched on this before, that he was a lot more complicated than I had thought or ever anticipated. He was very easily going to fall into that like brooding kind of like wounded
that we all love.
Boy that we love.
Yeah.
And he is that, but he's more like, and
he lacks the confidence that I think usually comes with that.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. I actually kind of liked it. Because then when they finally have like that sex scene, it's like insane because he's finally taking control, taking dominance. Because he's so unsure of himself because of this past that we've yet to fully flesh out. But yeah, I agree. He surprised me in how gentle he kind of was, actually.
Yeah, and now that you say that, like, I think kind of like now that there's been some space between reading the book, I kind of think of he is kind of flailing, like even in his kingdom. Like he's very disorganized.
He is.
And he doesn't really like know what to do, and he is kind of out of control. And doesn't know how to take it. That's a good point. I never really thought about it. I guess I thought about it in a new way. And so you can kind of understand why he's complicated. Like,
yeah. Well, he's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a lot on his plate.
He does. He does.
Yeah, he's
okay.
Yeah.
So my surprise character is not a positive one.
Okay.
It is actually Taryn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not necessarily not from the Crow Prince. Not necessarily surprised by the fact that she was actually dating Locke, but surprised by how she handled it. Surprised
you were really upset about that.
Yeah, like this is her freaking twin sister. And she's just gonna let some asshole Faye like jerk off get in the way of their relationship. Yeah, so that was a negative surprise.
Especially when you're the only humans there. Like,
yeah,
you gotta stick together.
The only like free humans who were there. The rest of them, you have to look at the fact that every other human around you is enslaved.
Like you don't have a lot of choices.
Yeah,
to like stick together.
Yeah.
Like you can't trust anyone else but your own kind in that kind of situation, you know?
Exactly. And she like blamed her sister for it. It's like, no, your sister had literally no idea it was going on.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything, you know, sure as hell he didn't say anything.
It's like when characters don't communicate and then they like make assumptions about the person because they didn't
miscommunication trope.
And I'm like, but that's not who they are.
Yeah.
You know? And what's frustrating is that if you can't trust that that's what someone was doing or not, whether or not it was clear to you.
Yeah.
You know, if it was miscommunicated, if you can't trust that, but we'll give that someone kind of the benefit of the doubt, like that's frustrating for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Taryn. I will mention also Cormac.
Yeah. Yeah.
once
He became
once
the
that
Boromir.
reveal happened, like it all made sense. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's gonna die. He's gonna
Yeah.
die. But the actual reveal that he was Agent Silver,
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Yeah.
That was that really threw me through a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Don't do that.
I know.
Whew. Oh gosh. I'm gonna
what-
still blame it on daylight savings.
Yeah, same. All right, one more, which is for me a surprise, was Nicolina.
Yes. Okay.
I just thought surprised in that like when we met her, she was just kind of like the what's her name? Was it a Viper?
Wraith.
No, the main witch in the Blood Coven. Oh, it was some kind of spider.
Ant.
No,
She was the ant.
she was the
I'll
ant.
look it up real quick.
But her name inferred like a spider or something. I don't know. The Widow, Black Widow? No, I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Hold on, I'm looking it up because now it's gonna bother me.
I know. Oh, Le Voisin. I don't know why I was thinking. Maybe that was she was described as like spidery or something.
I think probably because I remember her being like pale and lanky.
Yeah. So Le Voisin was like kind of like the main bad guy, right? And then Nicolina was just like this little like snickering like idiot on the side.
Yeah.
You know, like that trope. And then like the Mr. Smeed, like from,
yes,
like,
yeah.
Captain Hook. But then like she ended up being like really intense.
Yeah.
Like really, really intense. Like more intense than Le Voisin. And Le Voisin was really intense. Like how many times?
Because you knew like in the third book we knew like the full extent of what was going on in Nicolina's head.
Yeah.
The scene where we see her with her like son. Wow. Yeah. That was a good scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That, like thinking about it is kind of giving me chills right now.
Yeah, I literally just got chills. Like
yeah.
So she's just an incredible character. Like whether or not she was good or bad, she was just like so she was so rich and useful and like
yes, like
complete.
She was how many probably like centuries old, and I don't know if we really talked about it. I feel like we might have talked about it briefly, but to follow Le Voisin to the degree that she did, she'd had to have like really rationalized that to herself because there's no reason to think that she's not actually more powerful. But then when you see that like relationships start to crack, that was huge. Yeah.
After how many years? Jeez.
Yeah.
I love the mice too. I love that kind of.
Oh, that was creepy as fuck.
It was just like such an interesting way to kind of visualize and conceptualize like what was going on. What was it? Not a like a hive of like mice.
The hive mind.
The hive mind, yes.
And that like you would slowly get absorbed into if she drank your blood.
Yeah. Crazy.
Okay.
All right.
What are we doing next week?
I think we're doing The Wicked King.
Yes, we are.
Oh, I'm so excited. I need answers.
I'm very ready for this. I'm once again just mentioning that it has taken an incredible amount of willpower from both of us to not just immediately jump into this next book.
Yeah.
My fingers are itching for it.
I'm excited to get back into fairy worlds.
Yeah.
I want to like ride frogs again.
Yes.
I want to like jump on mushrooms and like.
It's funny how different this fairy world is to like ACOTAR.
Yeah.
Because they're both fairy worlds, but then in ACOTAR, anybody like a high fae is conveniently just very, very actually human-like.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, they're kind of human-like, but they still have different colored skin. Like you've got like the green ones or like the red ones. Some of them have like scales and feathers still, which I like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. And there's definitely more of a, yeah, like Akatar just feels very much like a 50 Shades, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, okay, everyone's got like a nice dress and looks
Everyone's
better than
conveniently very
humans.
beautiful. Yeah.
And then like, Cruel Prince is very much like, oh, and then like, there's all of these like, the paraphernalia that comes with like the fairy kingdom, which is like lots of jewelry and like these like very specific, which is great because it adds so much like interest and like texture to like the world.
Yeah. Like not Carden. Yeah, Carden's got a tail.
Yeah, Carden's got a tail.
Because wings have a very long history in YA.
Yes.
And in like fantasy romance.
Yes.
I love that they just threw in the tail. I don't know how much I love the tail itself, but I love that it serves no other purpose than being the tail.
Yeah. that's its purpose, is the tail.
Yeah. Like it's not like they don't go flying and it's like, wow, this whole new world, and it's not comparative to his dick size or anything like that.
It's not like when you touch the tail, he comes or something.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's not like
that we know of.
Sensitive. Yeah, that we know of.
Or is there anything the tail can do? It's just a flimsy tail. It's just a tail.
Yeah.
It's like a donkey tail, literally. Like
I imagine it more like a lion's tail.
Well, I mean, like it's like flimsy in that like a pin the tail, like
yeah.
There is like, no might to it. Like
I imagine it a little bit more what is it, like
gangly.
Not gangly, like not gangly. Probably because he's like a teenager. But oh god, what's the word? Like
corded,
not fixed. It's it moves, like you know, like
oh yeah.
No. Like the opposite of structured. Like when I think of a donkey's tail, it's just kind of like flapping, you know?
Yeah.
But like where a
like
cat's
snaky
tail will actually like move. Yeah.
Kind of snaky and really and you know.
Yeah. It kind of has its like
creative
own brain. Yeah.
A creative moving
it's
tail.
It's a creative tail. Yeah.
It is a creative tail.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're excited. We're going to talk about that next week.
Join us next week to talk about The Wicked King, the sequel to The Cruel Prince.
The Cruel Prince.
I can't imagine what that could mean with the titles.
Oof. Okay. Now I'm super excited. All right.
Yes.
Until next week.
Until next week.
Happy reading.
Happy reading.
Bye.
Bye.